all, this is Once and Future Gamer and welcome to another Pokemon challenge. Last time was an interesting run at Pokemon Ultra Sun as I sought to see if I could beat that with just a single Alolan Vulpix. It did not go as intended. Today though, at the end of 2025, I see if I can beat Pokemon Heart Gold with just a single Gible. Gible then, we are a first form pseudo legendary, so we have a 300 base stat total. Our attack is nearly a quarter of that, so we are going to hit reasonably hard. Our HP is the next best stat at 58, but everything else is lurking around the 40s, so we're not going to do much else well. We are ground and dragon type, so quad weak to ice and regular weak to dragon, no fairy in this game. This may be problematic in this gen though with our weaknesses because there is both a dragon gym and an ice gym, plus quite a few Pokemon have those type attack moves as utility. We are immune to electricity, we resist poison, rock and fire. Our moveset is mixed. Dig and Dragon Claw are nice stab moves to get via level up, plus we get Dragon Rage very early on, so the early game should be easy. But there's not much that is particularly useful elsewhere. Slash may give us some utility early on when we get it, but we don't get it that particularly early. Depending on our ability, I might be able to make Sandstorm do something, but it doesn't seem a great idea. Via TM, we get plenty of options, but very little of it particularly useful. Most of the best physical moves we get are normal type. There are rock options, there are niche stuff like Aerial Ace and Shadow Claw, but very little else in the way of coverage. I am disappointed we don't learn Swords Dance. Earthquake will be a very nice option to hit stuff with when we get that TM. I need to work out what's pre and post game though. This could be interesting. I used a Garchomp in Legends ZA, which is sort of where the idea came from. Anyway, as always, the rules are on the screen throughout. If you do enjoy what you see, then like, subscribe and ring that bell. Let's do this. I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Cyndaquil with Gible, so that I can do the whole run with it. I chose to replace Cyndaquil so that our rival would take Totodile, which I'm pretty sure has an ice move on its final moveset, and thus that makes it the hardest opponent to fight. I nicknamed the Gible Nugget. No reason, it felt nice. It felt right. Nugget has a Sand Veil ability, so increased evasion in a sandstorm. Not entirely useful, and the naive nature, so more speed and less special defense. It's fine, I'll take it. I mean, I'd be worried about ice beams and blizzards, but I'd be worried about them anyway. It's on the meh scale. I mentioned about abilities earlier, saying which ability we get, but I'm pretty sure pre-Gen 5, Gible can only get Sand Veil. I think the only other ability it gets is Rough Skin, which I think is hidden ability, so we weren't going to get Rough Skin. It'd be nice, but we're not going to get Rough Skin. I head off travelling and doing some EV training on the way to Mr. Pokemon. Once I get Dragon Rage, the early game should be simple, but I want to be set up for the parts of the game that will come once Dragon Rage stops being so useful. So, because this is the last challenge of 2025, just as I have done on my previous end of year challenges, I'm going to be recapping my year and looking ahead to some things I want to cover across the next 12 months. Let's look at the end of 2024. I did my final challenge of that year, which was Pokemon Black with a single Pikachu. And I remember that being not particularly fun in places. Oh well. I moved into January. I did Pokemon Yellow with a single Zubat and Pokemon Emerald with a single Tropius. In that month, I also did a playthrough of Pokemon Sword and Shield Ultimate with Monkey Pokemon, which was a very fun experience playing that game. I completed my playthrough of Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, and there was also TCG stuff throughout the year. I'm not going to dwell too much on the TCG stuff. I might mention it here and there, but I'm not going to go into massive details. I did also begin a playthrough of Injustice Gods Among Us. Love playing that. I think it was the first time I experimented with no commentary on the game track. The Zubat challenge in Yellow was not particularly fun. The Tropius with Emerald challenge was probably a bit harder than I expected in places. I mean, the end game was surprisingly difficult, but there's quite a lot of ice moves at the end of that game, and we're going to have the same issue in this game, in this challenge, in this run, that we did in that one, so yeah, we'll see. You might be surprised to hear the rival battle is not difficult, as we have Dragon Rage by this point, and when we face off against him and his Totodile, we can simply blast it in the face with a move, and watch it cease to be an issue. I wonder how long this will continue to be a viable strategy. I'm going to have the Flying Gym ahead, which I doubt will be problematic. Dragon Rage should see us through. There will be travelling, and then there'll be the Bug Gym and a rival battle. I'm probably more worried about the former than the latter. I do think Bugsy's Cypher might be the first real obstacle of the run. Originally, I was going to do Pokemon White 2 with Hidden Grotto Pokemon as this run for the end of the year, but clearly I decided against it. I've got a team run for the next challenge lined up, so I didn't want to do back-to-back team runs, but I may revisit that Pokemon White 2 with Hidden Grotto Pokemon at some point down the line. The other option I had for doing this, well, I had some choices between 2 Pokemon and 2 games. It was either going to be a White 2 or a Heart Gold challenge, and it was going to be either Gible or Larvitar because, again, if you see my Legend CA playthrough, I used both a Garchomp and a Tyranitar in that run. Yeah, I'm basic like that. Having gone through Sprout Tower, I now have the Flying Gym to deal with. I am not concerned about Faulkner, it's just a case of whether Dragon Rage is going to be a one-shot on Pidgeotto or not. So, he begins with Pidgey, and we just immediately one-shot with Dragon Rage. I'm not playing games in this fight, other than this game, you know, the Heart Gold game. Pidgeotto is also a one-shot with Dragon Rage, and with that, we've taken the first badge. In February, I uploaded the last episode of my playthrough of Pokemon Colosseum, which is a game I so desperately wanted to enjoy, but alas, it didn't seem to happen. Just so slow. I also did some playing of Simpsons Hit and Run, which, while I don't want to use the phrase it's aged badly because that might be uncharitable, it's definitely different to how I recall it. Maybe it's me that's not aged well. I didn't finish the playthrough, I sort of rage quit it some months later. Oh well. The challenges that month were Pokemon Ultra Sun with a single Kamala, which is a game that gives me mixed feelings after the last challenge I did chronologically this year. I also did my first tag team run of the year as I did Pokemon Fire Red with Swablu and Spearow. After kicking Team Rocket out of Slowpoke well, I go and fight Bugsy. I have a supreme amount of confidence over the way that I think this is going to go. How little do I know. He begins with Cypher and we get hit with Leah. Cypher then survives Dragon Rage, eats a berry and then one-shots us with U-turn. Admittedly, it was a crit, but that's still annoying. I'm going to train a bit. Hey, worst case scenario, I can probably break Cypher with Rock Tomb if I feel so inclined. Either way, I train up a bit, then go back at it. Nothing really goes in our favour as we are slower than Cypher and I'm not sure what level we would need to be to outspeed. So I eventually decide to use the Rock Tomb TM instead. However, even then, we still need a run where Cypher doesn't use U-turn or we are going to struggle. We get that run eventually, we get hit with Leah, I hope Rock Tomb doesn't miss, and it doesn't. We then one-shot Cypher with the move. Metapod is also a one-shot with Rock Tomb, and that puts us into battle with Kakuna at the end. It survives a Rock Tomb, lands Poison Sting, and managed to poison us, though the initial attack doesn't do much damage. Bugsy does use a Super Potion, but we can take Kakuna out with Tackle and Dragon Rage. That very nearly went wrong at the end. It never looked in danger, but it could have. Rival battle then, and I am ready for him. This can be one of the harder battles with him, but I am not worried. He begins with Ghastly. We fire a Dragon Rage at it and take it out in one shot. Handy dandy. Croconaw is second. It survives a Dragon Rage on about a quarter of its health and hits us with back-to-back Scary Faces, but we take it out with another Dragon Rage. Last is Zubat. It hits us with Supersonic and we hit ourselves in Confusion. Again and again. Well, we are also getting hit with a few bites as well. We lose over 3/4 of our health in this fight before shaking Confusion off and one-shotting Zubat with Dragon Rage. In March, there was more Simpsons Hit and Run, and I also did my no commentary playthrough of Maneater, which I really enjoyed. It feels like there was a stack of TCG stuff in March, but probably not as much as some months later in the year. For challenges, I did dual water-type runs. Pokemon Crystal with a single Chinchou, which was a fun run with a pretty cool Pokemon, and also Pokemon Platinum with a single Mantike, which again, it's usually fun with water types, and Mantike is strangely good in some areas. At the end of the month, I did a playthrough of Pokemon Ultra Moon with bird Pokemon, which was an experience. It was the first time ever, when you consider how long that's been out, I did the post-game of the Ultra games and the Team Rainbow Rocket stuff, so that was something. It was the last of these playthroughs I posted, though I did record a Pokemon White 2 with Fire types playthrough that I never edited or recorded audio for. It still does exist on my hard drive somewhere, I believe. We have Whitney and the Satanic Cow next. I mean, we don't have the gender advantage, but at least we resist rollout. Take every form of small thread of hope wherever you can. I'm not worried. We'll have a decent level advantage by the time we get to her, and I think we should be able to brute force her. We do have Whitney then, and she begins with her Clefairy. We strike a Dragon Rage, doing huge damage, and we get her to burn her Super Potion. Clefairy uses Mimic, and I don't fancy it being hit in retaliation with Dragon Rage. We do land 2 slashes to take Clefairy down, though we do get infatuated, but not really a problem. Miltank is faster, we get hit with some stomps, they do about 1/3 of our health each time. We do land a Dragon Rage the first turn, we get Flinch the second, and then on the third turn we survive Stomp on red health and take Miltank out with another Dragon Rage. 3 badges down! Going into April, I did the Man-Eater DLC, and I also did a playthrough of James Bond from Russia with Love, which was an interesting experience to go back to. You know, I actually think From Russia with Love has aged better than Everything or Nothing has. I did start playing Everything or Nothing earlier in the year, but only did so much and then never went back to it. Challenges were Pokemon Yellow with a single Pidgey, not an easy one because, hey, it's a Pidgey, and also Pokemon White 2 with a single Vulpix. This was the first of 2 Vulpix runs this year and my 3rd overall. I am moving into Ecruteak City now, and we have the rival, we have Morty, and then I'll probably swing over to Olivine and Cianwood to deal with all that. The Ice Gym might be a challenge in this run. It might be, you never know, it's Price, so traditionally he is a bit of a joke, but we'll have to see. We are quite weak to ice, so that might mitigate the fact that he's a horrible trainer. On the subject of our ice weakness, we have the rival battle in the Burn Tower, and we lose the first attempt. Here's why. He begins with Ghastly, we one-shot with Dragon Claw. Croconaw is second, we can two-shot with Dragon Claw, but unfortunately we get hit with Ice Fang and it wipes out virtually all our health to leave us weak. We can take Zubat out with Dragon Claw, but we don't have a fantastic way of dealing with Magnemite yet, no ground moves, and thus it survives Dragon Claw and takes us out with Sonic Boom. I go again with a bit more of a strategy. I gamble the first turn versus Ghastly and go for Sandstorm. We only get hit with Mean Luck before taking Ghastly out with Dragon Claw. Versus Croconaw, our Sand Veil kicks in, it misses Ice Fang and we can two-shots with Dragon Claw. Okay, that paid off incredibly well. Zubat goes down to Dragon Claw, and then Magnemite goes down to a crit Dragon Claw. So, why couldn't that have happened on the previous run? Cheers. I equip the Quick Claw before facing Morty because it might just save us versus Gengar, who I'm pretty sure is going to outspeed us, but we will have to see how it goes. He begins with Ghastly. We one-shot with Dragon Claw to put us into battle with Gengar. We lose 3/4 of our health immediately to Shadow Ball as we get outsped. Dragon Claw does big damage and prompts the eating of the berry, but our Quick Claw kicks in the next turn and we take Gengar down. Neither Haunter number 1 or Haunter number 2 is capable of outspeeding us or withstanding a Dragon Claw, and we soon take them down to give us a win and the 4th badge. Let's talk about the month of May, and the first challenge I did at this point was Pokemon Emerald with a single Igglybuff, which was an absolutely brutal experience. I use that phrase easily sometimes, but it heavily applies here, and it still wasn't the hardest challenge I've done this year because I did at least make it through the Elite Four and Champion, somehow. Wasn't easy, there was a lot of tears, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of swearing at the monitor, but made it. There was also a run in Fire Red with a single Corphish, which was something I was wanting to do for a while. I find Corphish an interesting Pokemon. I finished the month with Pokemon Crystal with a single Snubbull, which pretty standard fare. I also finished uploading the playthrough of From Russia with Love and began the playthrough of 007 Nightfire. So, we'll have the battles with Chuck and Jasmine ahead. Chuck can be quite irritating in these games as he likes to spam Double Team with Primeape, and then Hypnosis and Focus Punch with Poliwrath. We have Dig now, so 2/3 of Jasmine's team shouldn't be a problem, but I guess it might just boil down to how we do versus Steelix. That thing has a pretty monstrous physical defence, which is how we're best able to attack it from our point of view, so we'll have to see how that goes. Chuck takes several attempts. They did at least make him a more competent trainer in this game than in base Gold and Silver. Eventually, we get this run. He begins with Primeape, we land Dragon Claw, and then we get hit with Rock Slide for pretty meagre damage. I'm not sure what he was trying to do there. Outspeed and flinch maybe? He begins to charge Focus Punch and we take it out with another Dragon Claw. Poliwrath then. We go underground with Dig. We manage to stop it from using Focus Punch before it would have connected with us, and we do about 1/3 of its health in damage with Dig. It goes for another Focus Punch, we go for Dig again, and we connect, putting it on red health to prompt it to eat its berry. We get hit with Body Slam, but thankfully, no paralysis, and a 3rd Dig takes it down for the 5th badge. Jasmine actually turns out to be quite tricky, as it turns out we're just about fragile enough that Steelix can mess us up with a few Iron Tails. If we are lucky, it will use Sandstorm first turn, which is only a help for us, but Dig doesn't quite do enough damage to take it down easily, and when you throw healing items into the mix, Jasmine is just a bit too much for us at this point. So with that, I head across to the Lake of Rage and Rocket Hideout to get some more levels. We could get the Soft Sand, but it's hidden behind a trainer with a Cloyster who has Icicle Spear, I believe, so that's a bit of an obstacle. Editing note, that's not exactly where I thought it was. That battle I'm thinking of between Ilex Forest and Goldenrod City actually gives the player a Power Herb in this game, which is not useful at all. The Soft Sand is actually in Blackthorn City on a Saturday, which, not helpful. Into June then, and there was more 007 Nightfire, and it actually got some quite good reception in terms of views, and beyond a couple of challenges, there weren't much else in June. Those challenges in question were Pokemon Black with a single Craniados, something I definitely wanted to do for a while. It is quite fun using Craniados in Unova, because Mold Breaker gets around abilities like Sturdy, which makes things far less frustrating. I also did Pokemon Emerald with Teddiursa and Spinder, Double Bear Run, which was another tag team run and a funny one. After doing the Rocket Hideout, I've got a choice between going back for Jasmine and tackling Price. Well, I think I'll make a try on Price, but I figure this might be the one time he turns out to be tricky. I'm actually not wrong, as although Seal is easy, Dugong turns out to be a real obstacle, capable of surviving both Dragon Claw and Dig. Even if we do survive Aurora Beam, not a guarantee, it also has priority Ice Shard. I try some efforts with Sandstorm to boost our evasion, but Dugong never misses. Ever, in all the runs we do, it never misses. I draw the conclusion soon that this isn't going to happen at this level. I go back to trying my luck with Jasmine, since Price is clearly not working. We've got a few more levels than we had before for her, so maybe we can have a bit more luck with the damage rolls. It takes a few efforts, but eventually we get a run. She begins with Magnemite number 1, and out of all the Pokemon she could use, this is not an issue as we one-shot with Dig. We go for Dig versus Steelix, while it goes to Screech, which makes Iron Tail a death sentence if it hits. Thankfully it doesn't, and we do slightly over half Steelix's health with Dig while it goes to Sandstorm. This helps. We connect with another Dig that drops Steelix on red health, but we then have over half our health wiped out with Iron Tail on the next turn. The berry does take Steelix out of healing range though, and from the quarter health mark we can take it out with Dig. Magnemite number 2 is not a difficult opponent, we can one-shot that with Dig to give us a win. I train up to level 50, making my way towards the safari zone and the area outside, which I always seem to think is a good area for grinding. I'm not sure why. Well, apart from there being Tauros and Fearow there, which give decent experience points, so I guess I've got that idea stuck in my head. When I hit level 50, I make another set of tries on price, but it doesn't really do a lot of good as we still have the same problem. We can't really effectively get past Dewgong, as although we are getting close to one-shotting, it's not happening without a crit. And even if we do get past Dewgong, there's Piloswine last, who we definitely can't one-shot and who has 2 ice moves. I genuinely don't think it's happening at this level either. While I am grinding, let's do some Gible trivia. The Gible evolutionary line made its animated series debut in reverse order of evolution, as Garchomp appeared first, then Gabite, and then Gible last. It appears to be based on a shark, notably a ground shark or a sand shark, though some of its colouring, the red abdomen and rounder shape, could hint at it being partially based on a red-bellied piranha. Its name may be a combination of gobble and nibble. In the anime, Ash caught one that was trying to learn Draco Meteor, making itself uncompetitively viable in the process, or so you'd think. It was actually really good with that move, which, I know it's anime logic, but going off Gible's special attack, you would not think that. It did nail a Darkrai with that move in the Sinnoh League. It's definitely carnivorous, according to several Pokédex entries. They like to live in small holes, preferably warmed by geothermal heat. I love the Ultra Moon Pokédex entry. Its original home is an area much hotter than Alola. If you're planning to live with one, your heating bill will soar. They did once live in the tropics, according to the Pokemon Pearl Pokédex entry. They are also quite clumsy, and they can eat through most kinds of metal. In Gen 9, this evolution line is the only known Pokemon line to have rough skin as an ability. I make some more tries on price at level 55 and still it doesn't go well. We are getting closer, but still a little way off one-shotting Dewgong. At least there are more efforts where we can consistently get to Piloswine. I eventually try something different and head to the Slowpoke well and get the King's Rock, figuring flinchers might help us. So I work out the win conditions. I need either a crit or a flinch on Dewgong and Piloswine, one on each, to win. And eventually I get this effort. He begins with Seal, who is never an issue, we can always one-shot with Dragon Claw. In this run, we connect with Dragon Claw on Dewgong, and although it survives and connects with Aurora Beam, we crit the next Dragon Claw after Price heals, and that puts us into battle with Piloswine. It survives Dragon Claw, but misses Blizzard, and we can take it out with another Dragon Claw to give us a win, and we can move on into the next bit of the game. Thank goodness for that. July. Did much happen in July? Well, I went through some personal changes in July as my whole life got switched around. For the last 13 years I'd worked nights and I came off them at this time and into the light of day. I'd like to say it didn't affect my ability to make content because I don't think it did. Nightfire concluded in July. In terms of challenges, I did my yearly Gen 6 challenge as I sought to see if I could beat Pokemon Y with a single Totodile. This was ahead of Legends ZA because I'd done challenges with the other 2 starters for that game at that point, and I was operating under the assumption at the time that I would pick Totodile as my starter. This was before I saw the Feraligatr Mega Evolution. I was like, no. I also did Pokémon Heart Gold with Headbutt Tree Pokemon. I enjoyed that one. Heart Gold and Soul Silver are just good games. There's an understatement for you. I'm going to be honest. I got to use some Pokemon I'd never used before, like Forretress, for instance. The rival fight in the Goldenrod Underground then. Let's get on with this. There's a few options on his team I need to be concerned about, but ultimately, I think we should be fine. He begins with Golbat, and we strike out with Dragon Claw to one-shot. Sneasel is second, and we one-shot with Dragon Claw before it can do something painful to us. Feraligatr is third, and this is where things get interesting, as we do massive damage with Dragon Claw, and it counters with Ice Fang, doing well over half our health in damage and freezing us. Thankfully, we 4 out and take it out with another Dragon Claw. That could have gone badly. Haunter is 4th, we one-shot with Dragon Claw before the last Pokemon on his team is Magnemite, and just like we've done throughout, we take it out with Dig to give us the win. I'm not going to talk much about August. There wasn't any Let's Play stuff uploaded, just some TCG stuff and the challenges of a Fire Red tag team run of Ralts and Abra. Definitely fun. Those two complement each other nicely in a run. They're both exceptionally limited in certain ways, but can somewhat cover each other's limits. I also did my yearly Oras challenge as I took on Alpha Sapphire with a single Sandile. Definitely a harder endgame than expected in that one. So, we'll have Claire upcoming, which I think might be tricky. That Gyarados at the start could be problematic with Intimidate. I bet it's got Ice Fang too. It'll definitely have at least one super effective move, either an Ice move or possibly a Dragon move, maybe Dragon Pulse. But after that, we've got the walk towards the Pokemon League, we'll have the Kimono Gauntlet, there'll be Tin Tower, Victory Road, the final rival battle, and then the Elite Four. More on that later. The battle with Claire is my next major obstacle then, and I'm curious to see how it's going to go. I don't even heal before this battle, largely because I don't want to go out and have to do the gym puzzle again. More annoying than difficult, that puzzle. I say I don't heal, obviously I healed health but not PP. She begins with Gyarados and we are intimidated. We hit Rock Tomb for decent damage before shrugging off Dragon Pulse. We do slightly less than half its health with Rock Tomb and I decide to play it tactical and go for Sandstorm. It actually works out really well for two reasons. The first is that Gyarados misses the next two Dragon Pulse attacks on us thanks to Sand Veil, and after we hit another Rock Tomb, 2 turns of chip damage from Sandstorm are enough to bring Gyarados down without her healing. Dragonair number 1 is a one-shot with Dragon Claw, nice, and so on the next round is Dragonair number 2. So that leaves just Kingdra then. She survives Dragon Claw on red health, then eats a berry, which takes her out of healing range. On the last turn of Sandstorm, she misses Dragon Pulse, and then we take her out with another Dragon Claw. Wow, I suppose I should be surprised that Claire turned out to be easier than Price in this run. Into September. The main stuff uploaded at this point was TCG stuff as I took a break. The main exception to this was a challenge in which I took on Pokemon Platinum with a single Dustox, which, like most Platinum runs, was an exercise in painful triumph. I did mostly break at this point because doing one of these challenges every 2 weeks does catch up after a while. I know there are certain YouTubers that do one every week, but well, my time is not always my own. I did do one a week for quite a long time and I don't know how I did it looking back. I mean, I must have had absolutely no life at that point doing one a week and working full time as well. So, yeah. The Kimono Girl Gauntlet then, and this is actually somewhat surprising. We lose the first attempt to Umbreon thanks to Confuse Ray and hitting ourselves several times in confusion. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but the next attempt, I will show this. We make it all the way to Vaporeon at the end, and then have the narrowest of wins, which needs to be seen to be believed. I am just saying, I cannot believe I got away with this. In October, I did start uploading my playthrough of Resident Evil 7. I was glad I got to do this. I was glad I finally finished that game after so many years and so many aborted attempts. That's a lie, probably 2. I started recording the playthrough in May or June. I know I was still on nights and it sort of died a death until September when I got back to it. I mean, I had 2 weeks off work that month, and I figured I'm going to do it that time. I told myself, I made a vow, that's where it ended up. I also uploaded a challenge video of Pokemon Black with a single Meowth, an experience to be sure, as Meowth is a very limited Pokemon, but that just made it more fun. That's the word we'll go with. I also began uploading my playthrough of Pokemon Legends ZA once it was released, and I'll talk more about ZA in a bit. I'm on my way to the Elite Four then, and I'm not sure how this is going to go. I am going to get the Earthquake TM in Victory Road for sure. It's going to be an improvement on Dig. I can see Will being annoying. I am amazed that Gible doesn't get Bite or Crunch in this game since, you know, it's 90% Mouth. I mean, I probably have that move over Rock Tomb, just saying. I think there's going to be a few members of his team, probably Slowbro and maybe Executor, that we don't one-shot, and then things get interesting. Koga might be a bit easier. I still think Fortress might be an obstacle, but Koga usually more annoying than difficult, just saying. I can see Crobat being annoying and possibly the toughest of his team. Bruno we might have a little less trouble with, but we still need to watch out for stuff coming the other way because there is potential we could get hit quite hard. Karen, I think we will struggle with since we are special defensively weak and she has some hard hitting special attackers. Gengar, Houndoom, Vileplume could probably hit us reasonably hard and probably Murkrow as well, so 4 out of 5 ain't bad. And I think we are going to struggle versus Lance for sure. I did also check to see if anyone has done this challenge before on YouTube, and I did find at least 2 instances of someone having done Heart Gold with Gible very, very quickly. So, what more than could I say? I say, this could have been White 2 with a single Larvitar. I might revisit that at some point. I think when I do get around to doing challenges again, I'm going to hold off on doing DS challenges for a bit because it feels like I've done a lot in a very short space of time, and it's not that they're harder, that's the wrong word. I think it's just that they seem to take more time. I mean, you look at the Gens 1 through 3, they don't seem like long games to do. They can be hard in places, that's not for debate, but they just seem fast. I mean, maybe it's just because the games are smaller. I don't know. That's almost certainly what it is. It's probably that the games are smaller, if not longer, if you get me. Victory Road rival battle then. We have Earthquake, we're ready to rock and roll. I think we'll be as ready for him as we'll ever be. He begins with Sneasel, and while this could be dangerous, we outspeed and one-shot with Dragon Claw. That prompts a battle with Feraligatr, and we strike out with Earthquake, which does do a lot of damage, but we don't one-shot, and we get countered for Ice Fang with a lot of damage. We can take it down with Dragon Claw though, so that's something. The third is Haunter, who we one-shot with a Dragon Claw, and out fourth is his newly acquired Kadabra, who also goes down in one Dragon Claw. Golbat is fifth, and once again we strike out with Dragon Claw to one-shot it, before the final Pokemon is Magneton, and we hit that with Earthquake. For a one-shot, we take it down for the count to give us the win over him. Here are our stats as we enter the Pokemon League at level 64. Okay, it could be worse, but it could also be a lot better. Our HP is decent, our attack is quite good for what we are, and I don't even suppose our speed is overtly terrible, but this is with a speed boost in nature. However, our defense stats are very worrying, but I guess we can only see how it will play out. Take your guesses on if we can do it at this level or not. Right now folks, let's do it. Psychic Trainer Will is first, and we were not ready for this as I planned badly for Slowbro, setting up a Sandstorm while the Reflect was up from Executor, and unfortunately this simply let it power up with Curses, and it got to the point where we could eventually barely harm it, and this was obviously a problem as it simply outlasted us. I evaluate and realise we're probably not ready yet, and so it's training time. I train up and come back at level 70 for another round at Will. I think we may have more joy of it this time. I hope we do anyway. He begins with Xatu number 1, and it doesn't take a lot of choice to hit it with Dragon Claw, and we one-shot. Unsurprisingly, he goes for Jinx next, but Jinx is very frail and we one-shot with Dragon Claw. Executor is third, and I go for Earthquake. I have no idea why, since it's resisted, but we crit and drop it on red health. Executor goes for Reflect, Will heals, and we put the Sandstorm up. I hit another Earthquake for very small damage. Executor misses Psychic on us thanks to the Sand Veil, and we can strike 2 more Dragon Claws on Executor to bring it down with the help of the chip damage from the sand, but we also lose some special defense to Psychic. Slowbro is next, and its arrival coincides with the Reflect going down. We strike an Earthquake to do big damage. Slowbro misses Psychic on us on the last turn of Sandstorm, and we finish it off with Dragon Claw. Last is Xatu number 2. We strike a Dragon Claw to take it down, and that gives us the win. Poison Trainer Koga is second. I always think there's a danger for him to be more irritating than difficult. He's in that category along with a few other Elite Four members from across the franchise. He begins with Ariados, who we one-shot with Dragon Claw. Fortress is second, it goes to protect and blocks Earthquake, again, very annoying. The second turn, we strike Earthquake and get counter hit with Swift before I predict a protect on the third turn and we go for Sandstorm to waste the turn. We then take Fortress out on the next round with another Earthquake. Venomoth is a one-shot with Earthquake before Muck is fourth, and we also take Muck out in one hit of Earthquake. Crobat is last, it's faster and goes for double team. We hit Dragon Claw though as the Sandstorm goes down. We get hit with Wing Attack and I put the Sandstorm back up for some chip damage as we then land another Dragon Claw to take it out and give us the win. Fighting Trainer Bruno is third and he does take a few tries for one reason or another. Crits and counters usually. He begins with Hitmontop and we have to use Earthquake as Dragon Claw is not a one shot and we would promptly get murdered by counter otherwise, but Earthquake is a one shot. Hitmonchan is a one shot with Dragon Claw and we watch it go down. Onyx is third, it survives a Dragon Claw and hits Earthquake which doesn't do a lot of damage before another Dragon Claw takes it out. Hitmonlee is a one shot with Dragon Claw before Machamp is last. It survives Earthquake and nails us with Cross Chop, but that doesn't do too much damage and we can take it down on the next turn with Dragon Claw. Victory! Dark Trainer Karen is fourth, again perhaps more annoying than difficult. She begins with Umbreon, we do massive damage with Earthquake and she promptly goes for a Confuse Ray and a full restore. We fight through Confusion and hit another Earthquake to put us back to square one. We fight through Confusion again and hit a Dragon Claw to take Umbreon out. Gengar is second. We strike Dragon Claw and it barely survives before missing Focus Blast. We then take it out with Rock Tomb. Vileplume is a one shot with Earthquake, which quite handy as that can be potentially dangerous. And so, when it comes out in fourth, is Houndoom, a one-shot with Earthquake. Murkrow is last, we one-shot with Rock Tomb to give us the win. Champion time then, and the battle with Lance proves one thing. We are not doing it at this level, as I make several attempts. We are intimidated at the start, and are barely capable of hurting Gyarados as a result. It has both Ice Fang and Dragon Pulse, and both of these are more than capable of messing us up. I do try to use Sandstorm for some evasion boost, but it doesn't work, so this is not happening at level 71. I make some more tries at level 80 and we can at least fight our way past Gyarados at these efforts, but the problem is we are not quite strong enough to one-shot the Dragonite on the next turn, and we then get messed up by Dragon Rush, which our physical defence quite low. Dragonite, quite a high attack Pokemon. Dragon Rush, quite a high damage move. Stab move, we go down. I try again at level 85 and it's remarkable how much less damage Ice Fang from Gyarados is doing now, even though it is a quad super effective move. Not surprising entirely given our level advantage, but something to note for sure. We can one-shot the level 49 Dragonites now. Both of these go down to a single Dragon Claw apiece, but the level 50 Dragonite is more than capable of surviving it just barely, and then ends us with Outrage, which, unlike Dragon Rush, probably isn't going to miss. I make tries at level 88 and 90, but we're still not quite at the point where we can knock the level 50 Dragonite out in one shot. And then, it takes level 95, but we get this run. He begins with Gyarados. We strike a Dragon Claw and do 3/4 of its health in damage. Ice Fang does just under half our health in damage, and we strike another Dragon Claw to take Gyarados out. Dragonite number 1 is second. We take it out with a Dragon Claw. Dragonite number 2 comes out next, the second level 49 one, and we strike another Dragon Claw, and that takes it down for the count. The level 50 Dragonite comes out, we can finally one-shot with Dragon Claw. Charizard is 5th, we one-shot with Rock Tomb, and last is Aerodactyl, who survives Rock Tomb and hits us with Aerial Ace for not much damage. Lance uses a full restore, we connect with Dragon Claw and one-shot it from full health. And with that, we can enter the Hall of Fame and move on into the post-game as the credits roll. As I am travelling towards Kanto, there's still more reflection. November came around. One of the things I did was release my Fire Red with a single Zubat playthrough the day after Halloween. My second Zubat challenge of the year. Was it harder than the first? Hard to say. Same region, but Gen 1 Kanto and Gen 3 Kanto are very different experiences. Not in a bad way, for sure. They both have their own merits. You can see the similarities, but there's also a world of difference. I mean, you could argue the same thing of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee being very different again. I know those games get a lot of hate. I didn't necessarily hate them. They did some stuff which was quite neat, but I will agree they do feel like a missed opportunity, but I digress. Anyway, there was also more Legends ZA, and I did enjoy Legends ZA. I played it non-stop for a period of time. Probably the reason there was no challenges really across the period of time. Well, part of the reason anyway. I did enjoy it. At the time of writing this specific bit of the script, I hadn't purchased the DLC, so we'll see in the future if I bothered with it. Probably. I'm pretty much a shell for Pokemon at this point. A little aside here, this bit was wrote on the morning of Christmas Eve, and I did buy the DLC. I have some pretty strong feelings about the DLC to the point that I have serious buyer's remorse about purchasing it. Slow, repetitive, uninspired. I might have been a bit harsh, but these are the feelings I have. I loved playing ZA, the main game. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm really having to motivate myself to actually get up and play the DLC to the point that it is, I do feel like it is that much of an absolute insult, the Mega Dimension, compared to what came before. May seem harsh, but this is my opinion. I will stand by it. Unless I do eventually force myself to play and I'm like, actually I was being harsh, but that's the future. At this moment in time, I do feel like it was a massive missed opportunity. Blue then. Now, you know what? I feel like giving it enough tries, we could potentially get a win, but a lot of the efforts play out like this. Executor is ridiculous. I lose a lot of attempts to it thanks to Trick Room and Hypnosis, which turns into potentially the most accurate move I've ever seen in a lot of these runs, and once we're asleep we get Leaf Stormed down, which does a lot of damage. About the furthest we ever get is the one attempt where we make it to his last Pokemon in Pidgeot, but we've had an unbelievable amount of luck to get there and we cannot survive a return because we've been beat up that badly. Being intimidated twice by Gyarados and Arcanine is problematic. It makes Rhydon and Machamp incredibly dangerous, as both are capable of hurting us and we can't one-shot either of them. But I don't really think I have the will to keep trying this for a long time, and that nicely segues into where we are now. December is hard to quantify as I started writing this on the 30th of November, so it's hard to talk about any uploads that month other than the planned ZA stuff. You might notice there weren't a lot of uploads that month. There was the Ultra Sun with a Alolan Vulpix run, which became the first challenge that I failed to beat. Quite a sobering thought. Pure Ice type with a limited moveset does not do well in the Ultra Alola games, it turns out. These lines I'm speaking aloud now, I wrote on Christmas Eve morning. I didn't do much over December, to be honest. I wanted some me time. I've been doing a lot of this over the last few years and it gets a lot. Sometimes I just want to play video games for me without having to record them or be entertaining, and if you've seen a lot of my stuff, you might realise being entertaining is not always something I am, so where do I go from here? The next Pokemon challenge, when I do it, will be challenge number 150 when I get around to making it. I do want to keep doing these, but there's obviously a time constraint. I don't have the same amount of free time to work with as I wish that I had. I tend to operate in a very set way, in which I obsess on something and devote all my time to it, and then I get burnt out, and then I find it hard to get back to it. Several years ago, before I started doing the YouTube thing, I did the same with writing books. I have about 15 books for sale on Amazon, fantasy novels, one of which may or may not have been loosely inspired by Pokemon, along with a few other franchises. But since I had that burnout, I've been able to get back into writing. There's possibly a scientific name for this, but anyway, in short, I do want to carry on, but not sure. I mean, I don't dislike doing the challenges, I don't dislike editing the videos if I'm honest, it's the script writing and the voice recording that I'm not a huge fan of. it's not even the act of physically doing it itself, it's more the idea of doing it more than anything else. If there was a reliable and easy way to record my voice as an AI, feed the script into it and generate it, I would. But of course the problem then becomes that it probably wouldn't be me, it'd feel like cheating. And that's the rub, of course, because I'm caught between two standards, one of not caring and one of feeling like I care way too much. It'd be the words and the voice, but it wouldn't be the emotion. Why did I get started on this? I saw other people doing Pokemon challenges and I said, I could do that. You know what? Whatever happens next, I was right, I did do that. Here we are then, the end of 2025. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, call out with a comment and smash that subscribe button. Here's to another year. Hope it's a good one. Health, happiness and prosperity to you all. If you are a regular subscriber, if you are a regular commenter, thank you very much, and I hope it's been somewhat entertaining. But until the next time, I'll see you then. This has been Wanted Future Gamer. Take care, have a great one. See you when I see you. Bye bye.